Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is your host, Young Brando, celebrating the Brando Centennial. As you guys know, he would have been 100 years old if he were alive today. So I'm proud to represent. Joking aside, we are, of course, going to talk about watches as always. And I'm going to start with a couple of questions for you, perhaps. A couple of things I want to show on Instagram. In the meantime, please don't forget to hit the like button. That always keeps the wheels turning, keeps the eternal mix churning, the algorithm. So please hit the like in advance. I promise you a good show. I will keep you up until midnight here, 3 a.m. in New York, elsewhere on the East Coast. I'll keep you company in the morning if you find yourself in Europe, in the Middle East, in the UK. So let's jump right in. As always, I'm going to start with some of the pieces that I've been posting on Instagram, and there's plenty. I have shown you my friend's modern Paul Newman, which is a pre-Oyster Flex, pre-ceramic bezel version, the 116518, with that gorgeous black dial, matte black, with kind of lemon accents on the subdials. The chronograph seconds is in fire red, and so is the outer division for the seconds on the periphery of the dial. I think it's a beautiful watch. I like the 116518 LN as well as the 508 that used to exist with this style on the full gold bracelet, of course. But somehow, you guys know I like leather straps on watches. I like leather strap watches, so this one is somehow my favorite among all the three. Of course, with the full bracelet version, you can always put your own um, leather strap with it as well. And at least until this most recent generation, Daytona was that one sports watch within Rolex's catalog that still could play that game, still could be fitted with leather strap without looking all that top heavy and out of place. What I did want to show you, and this is actually straight from Nico Leonard's Instagram. He was getting his personal copy of Jean-Claude Biver's book signed by him at Watches and Wonders. And of course, you know, Biver, as a father and son team, they have been working on their brand, and they have actually revealed it, introduced it in the last Watches and Wonders. Had a very interesting watch that they had donated to Only Watch that is apparently coming back for this auction season as well. So we might yet talk about it again. I sure want to make a video about all the reels that I have done, all the shorts that I've taken with those watches. So once the schedule is up, once the lots are posted again, I will be happy to share what I have. But the great thing about this is Biver was actually wearing an AP, and a very interesting AP at that. I would expect him to wear his own brand now, but as it happens, he was wearing Audemars Piguet, and one of those round-cased 36 millimeter ultra thin perpetual calendars that are said to have saved the brand, sustained the sales for the brand through some of the darkest times in the aftermath of the quartz crisis. And I thought it was really apt that one of the heroes of Swiss watchmaking, the book he's signing there is called The Wizard of Swiss Watchmaking, would be wearing a watch like this, because after all, Biver played an active role in that rescue mission, he was among the people who pulled the industry from under the weight of that crisis and restored the faith in complicated mechanical timepieces, especially with the kind of work he did at Blancpain. And actually, Audemars Piguet was Jean-Claude Biver's initiation into fine watchmaking. You see him here in a photo from late 70s. He worked at AP as a salesman, I believe, between years 1975, 79. And he is, ironically, in that photo, he's wearing the square Royal Oak, the 6005 reference, which incidentally, and maybe ironically, was actually AP's way of sneaking in quartz mechanisms into the Royal Oak lineup, right? It was a Trojan horse of sorts, because they didn't immediately want to introduce quartz movements, quartz mechanisms to the traditional Royal Oak line. So these served as kind of a starting off point, as a launching point. And it's funny that he would wear that at that time, and then now in his mature era, when he has his own brand, he is wearing, in fact, one of those definitive pieces. I believe it is actually the first reference, because it has the flat dial. The later references that came after the 5548, 5548 BC, the white gold version, I believe, is what he's wearing, had sunken subdials. And it was a whole lineage, you guys know, which still provides great value, by the way. So if you're not necessarily wedded to the Royal Oak as a design, as a style, you have the same legacy of the JLC 920 derived mechanism here, the caliber 2120 28 line 2800, which is just recently retired under its modern guise, as you know, in the collaboration they did with John Mayer. And there are so many options within this line. They all have this perfectly round case with the stepped bezel, rather short lugs, even though they are not extremely stubby. Great watch, precisely because it is ultra thin. I believe the thickness is right around, I want to say 8 millimeters, but it might be even slightly less. But it's a watch that wears perfectly. A lot of examples would be in yellow gold across different references. 25548 is probably one of the most common references you can find. This white dial is again one of the most common you can find, but there are so many variations, some of which actually accrue a lot of premium as well. But you know, if you just want the mechanism, if you just want the great dress watch to wear, that's not going to break the bank, and that would have that same legacy that binds Jaeger LeCoultre and Audemars Piguet in a classically designed case conceived by Jacqueline Dimier, who was in so many ways a protege of Gérard Genta, and who is probably one of the most important women in the 20th century of watchmaking as well. So a watch that has a lot of great heritage, a lot of great legacy and history bound up with it, and quite a technical marvel at that. Speaking of technical marvels, I had a chance again at that same Christie's auction preview where I got a chance to examine and shoot the Michael Schumacher collection. This is a Patek 2499 line 100J, meaning it is a Patek perpetual calendar chronograph from only the second reference that Patek made. Of course, the OG one is what was introduced in 1941, the 1518. The 1518, of course, is extremely desirable in its own way due to its rarity, due to its place in history, its elegance. It's a marvel in miniaturization, and it is also the first serially produced perpetual calendar chronograph. And, you know, by saying serially produced, of course, we're not talking about actually all that many numbers, less than 300 of them. I think the number is actually around 280, more than that. When it comes to 2499, it is actually the reference that has captured the imagination of a lot of modern collectors because bigger is better. It's right around 37 millimeters in diameter, and the case is kind of a sculptural presence. The one you are seeing right now in this reel is the fourth series, so it is the larger case made by Wenger. The shape of the case is pretty much the same, right? In that concave bezel, the sculpted stepped lugs that have this downward curve. But in the first series, for the first 2 years of the production, so roughly 1950 to 52, the cases were actually made by the classic maker Émile Vichet. So they had flat case back and claw-like lugs that have a more dramatic downward curve compared to this one. Those cases were around 36 millimeters, but they're still extremely desirable. Fourth series is a little different when it comes to the dial and the pushers. The first series had rectangular pushers. After that, the three distinct series that follow upon that all have the round pushers that this watch also has. The first series also had Arabic numerals on the dial. The first two series also had tachymeter scale on the periphery. Things are much more simplified here. Classic baton markers, just a seconds division on the outer periphery of the dial, silver dial right here. And on the fourth series, which is one of its biggest distinctions from the third, you have a flat sapphire crystal rather than a domed crystal. And here's an example of the first series in pink gold. And I think only 4 of these have so far publicly resurfaced. And you see that the lugs are a little more dramatic, a little more also radical in their downward curvature. The dial has applied Arabic numerals that match the case material. And in addition to a seconds/minutes track in the concentric circle here on the outer periphery, you have a tachymeter dial, tachymeter scale. And this is, again, the Emile Vichet made case in pink gold with those square pushers that, as you can see, are very nicely beveled as well on the button side. These are extremely cool pieces. This is an example that sold for more than 2.5, 2.5 million Swiss francs about 10 years ago. So very rare, very, very dear pieces. Okay, let's take a look at the poll. If you haven't voted yet, please do, and hit the like button while you're at it. Okay, Bonhams didn't get a vote. Phillips is leading 43. Others actually have 57%. But guys, if you want me to cover something else, you should share it with me, yeah? You should write something in the chat and let me know. I know a lot of my audience is very silenced because they're too busy taking notes for their own channels. After all, they all need content, right? And they can't really do it by themselves. So I need to help them as well. While we are getting maybe some reactions, I'll also share that High Snobiety, which is an account that has 5.5 million followers, and I didn't get anything out of it. I don't think it gave me any real exposure either, but it did give me some personal boost. As you guys know, it's like a global fashion and lifestyle brand, and they have actually featured my own video of the Michael Schumacher AP Royal Oak chronograph, the pièce unique, one of a kind, 18 karat white gold. That was actually a personal gift from the Scuderia Ferrari principal at the time, Jean Todt, to Michael Schumacher. I've covered this watch a few times. I will do a full video on all the 8 pieces. It's really, it's really taken off on my own accounts. And I'm very happy that it's been adopted by so many who have not given me credit, and some others right here who have kindly done so. And maybe it will get somewhere at some point, but I have not reaped any benefits from their sharing yet, which I'm always hesitant. I don't really like it when other people use my content, but hey, if it gets a few more extra eyeballs, why not? So I guess in the absence of any clarification as to what else you would like me to cover, because no one seems to be writing in the chats, I will go and start with Phillips. And in fact, we'll start with what they highlighted from a part of their sale. I think anyone who has been following the world of watches in the last decade or so will have come across the name Mondani, and Guido Mondani in particular. Of course, his daughter seems to have taken over the kind of the helm of the ship for a while now, Giorgia Mondani. But Guido Mondani is a famous Italian collector who has at some point published these overly produced picture books, really, of a lot of collectible watches, and over time he grew into this empire of what do they call it, like Mondani certified dealer networks or something, like trusted dealers. I don't know about that. I mean, there are a lot of dealers that are included in that network that are genuinely trustworthy, and there are others that are the worst of the worst. And at any rate, I don't know why I should trust a watch dealer on the basis that it is a trusted dealer by Mondani, but they have somehow managed to establish it and made it a kind of business for their own. I can't really complain too much about it, but I don't know. I was never impressed. His collection is impressive, however, so we will take a look at it. But the books, I would highly advise you not to buy them unless you are much more interested in style than in substance. If all you care is about aesthetics, high resolution, large size pictures of very collectible examples of Rolex and Patek watches, sure, perhaps. It's not the worst way of educating your eye on what is a good example. You could do worse, but you could also do much better, namely by getting off your ass and looking at some of those watches yourself. That is always the best way. But more importantly, just reading up a lot in combination with the kind of field research, going out there and handling some of the best examples. And actually, the time for that has never been better. Right now, you don't have to fight with people who don't even know the worth and sometimes the educational worth of the watches they had. I mean, I dealt in the past with with many jewelers and dealers who would be bothered by simple questions like, what's the movement in this watch? How does it compare to Valjoux 72? Or do you think Excelsior Park movements are worth anything? They would chase you out of the store for those kinds of questions. So we live in a different world now. People are much more educated in what they're actually selling, even though I think being a good dealer who sells a lot of watches does not qualify one as an expert. That's why I'm always very suspicious from all the dealers who are big social media stars. I have never learned anything from watching them and observing their contents. I wonder if anyone ever has, but that's another discussion altogether. Let's get back to the topic at hand. We're talking about the pieces from Guido Mondani's collection that are going to be sold as part of the Phillips Geneva Watch Auction number 19 in Roman numerals. It's an event that's going to be held on May 11th and 12th in Geneva. Altogether, 219 lots, and I think 44 of them are Guido Mondani's watches. Here is a 1985 Rolex Cosmograph Daytona 6269. Which is a very, very fascinating example. You might think of it as kind of the original Rainbow Daytona in a way, with a pavé diamond dial, two-tone champagne subdials, sapphires, round-cut sapphires for the hour markers, and brilliant cut diamonds set in on the bezel, screw-down pushers, 18-karat yellow gold case. A pretty interesting example. That is lot 13 of this auction. Let me also send in the link to the auction into the chats. Feel free to browse it at your own pace. And if you make a selection, if you're interested in a lot or in a couple of lots, feel free to send in the number in a super chat, and I will be more than happy to take a deep dive on it. This is lot 13, a Rolex Daytona 6269 from the Guido Mondani collection. It's powered by the Valjoux 727, relatively late in the production of hand-wound Daytonas. Just a few years before, the Zenith-derived caliber 4030 would power the Daytona for the first automatic series, 16520. 44 brilliant diamonds set in the bezel, 240 diamonds on the diamond encrusted dial. Probably made in no more than 30 pieces. one of the kind of early uh, trophies of those gem set Rolex sports watches. And this one seems to be in quite a nice condition. Again, someone has to do something about these awful choices for the straps when they present these watches. I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder if they even care at some point. I think they're just having a little bit of too much fun at Phillips sometimes. Like what an awful choice for a strap. Um, it's kind of sad, with someone like Aurel Bache being called a tastemaker in the world of horology, and this is the taste that he has. It's so strange. But a lime green strap, anyway, they should have just kept this simple brown. It's good enough, or like a navy blue or even electric blue, so you could pick out these sapphire hour markers maybe. Anyway, but as you can see, the watch looks brilliant, and I'm not trying to pun on the cut of the diamonds there. It really is fantastic. It is, of course, a watch that was presented before in the manual wound Daytona book of the Guido Mondani series, pages 186 and 187. It says here, and it is actually coming with a copy of that book as well as a presentation box and outer packaging, which is a nice thought for sure. The pre-auction estimate for lot 13 for this beautiful gem set hand-wound Daytona reference 6269 is between 664,000 to a little more than 1.3 million in US dollars. Another piece they highlighted from the Guido Mondani collection was a 6265 once again, a relatively late example that combines a yellow gold case with a matching tachymeter bezel and screw down pushers. Another watch that has been featured in a Mondani book, namely the Rolex Encyclopedia, pages 142 and 43. This is practically a whole set that comes also with all the product literature, the original warranty papers stamped for October 21, 1989, presentation box, outer packaging, the leather wallet to hold the documents, so on and so forth. And again, a copy of that book, the Rolex Encyclopedia. An additional service dial is included. The original dial is this champagne number with black subdials. The service dial is this inversion, basically, of that dial with a black backdrop and champagne subdials. The watch overall has taken on a very lovely warm patina, which gives it this pinkish hue, kind of nicely distributed over the case and lightly over the matching riveted oyster bracelet as well. A fantastic piece again, probably something that would appeal to a wider crowd than the 6269 that we were looking at, even though that piece is, of course, infinitely more rare and quite desirable for that particular price segment. This piece is comparatively reasonable. There you go. Case back sticker intact, but more importantly, you see the crispness of all those engravings, the hallmarks, the number for the end link. Everything is so fresh. This is lots 22. Phillips Geneva watch auction number 19. This piece is going to go under the hammer on May 11th from the Guido Mondani collection. A Rolex Cosmograph Daytona in 18-karat yellow gold, mounted on the matching riveted oyster bracelets, with a pre-auction estimate set between 133,000 to 266,000 in US dollars. We have a beautiful pink gold Jean-Claude Killy. The Killy references are actually some of the most complicated watches that Rolex ever produced. It is a nickname that is taken after one of the longest standing ambassadors of the brand, Jean-Claude Killy, the French Olympic skier. Who, by the way, is still alive. Is not very active publicly, not in the way that Jackie Stewart is, for example, as an ambassador for Rolex. I think they have signed on actually on the same day as it happens for that role. Incidentally, the name Killy is given to a series of references, about 4 of them, a 5036, 4767, 6036, and the successor reference to this 6236. They all have similar aesthetics, but have technical differences. They're all called the Dato Compacts as well, in the sense that it combines the calendar complication, a full calendar, with a 3-register chronograph. Presented in a Rolex Oyster case, 36 millimeters in diameter, in yellow gold, which is probably the rarest instantiation. Most of these pieces are in stainless steel. They can also be found in yellow gold and bimetal, but I do believe that the pink gold is the rarest one. As you can see, it has beautiful alpha hands that are inlaid with luminous material, of course, long expired. Pyramid-shaped conical markers for the hours, with the coronets at 12 o'clock, of course. Luminous pips right behind those indices. On the periphery of the dial, inscribed in blue, you'll see the dates indicated by a centrally deployed blue arrow right under the hand stack. Two additional calendrical indications are provided through the two wickets above the signature at 12 o'clock for the day of the week at 11 o'clock, let's say, and the month at 1 o'clock. Here, the calendar is in French. Continuous running seconds at 9 o'clock, 12-hour counter at 6 o'clock, and a 30-minute totalizer at 3. Beautiful pink gold case, 36 millimeters in diameter, is matched with, again, a riveted oyster bracelet with a straight end link. The watch is from 1954. You can see it is in a stellar condition, if not necessarily untouched. This particular piece comes with the original warranty, the product literature, presentation box, and an outer packaging. No Mondani book accompanies it in this particular case, but the book itself was actually featured in the Master Rolex book by Guido Mondani, pages 66 and 67. It's really a beautiful piece. You know, it's like the most interesting man in the world. You know, we don't always make complicated watches, but when we do, it's something like this. It's a fantastic piece. This probably goes under the hammer on May 12th, since it is lot number 117, a Rolex Data Compax, Jean-Claude Killy reference 6036, that combines a full calendar with a 3-register hand-wound chronograph built on the base of Valjoux 72, caliber 72C. From mid-50s, the estimated value of this piece is set somewhere between 443,000 to 886,000 in US dollars. Let's see, they have some other interesting pieces. This Patek 1485 with that is signed by that is double signed by, I think that's a Montevideo based dealer, Frecero, from Uruguay, if I'm not mistaken. A rectangular watch. I'm getting Tank Obus vibes with those bullet shaped lugs. And also the bezel is very nicely beveled to give it the appearance of almost like an artful frame. Certainly an Art Deco design all over. Even the way that those painted indices are aligned or arrayed around the dial, the placement of Arabic numerals in the quarters, the subdial for seconds, which takes the appearance of a sector dial with a radial guilloche in a sunken center. That seconds dial, by the way, is very nicely and thermally treated into a cornflower blue. The piece overall is actually in stainless steel. Which apparently was the case material used for this reference exclusively, as the catalog essay states. I ended the poll, but please hit the like button if you haven't already. That really helps. Apparently, this was a case design that was designed, that aimed to provide something water resistant for Patek. Only 21 examples have so far, pardon me, appeared on the auction market apparently. So how successful it was, how well it sold for Patek is up to your imagination. This particular piece comes from around 1944, and it does carry the Uruguayan retailer Frechero's signature on it. A double signed Patek is always quite desirable. This piece also has the long signature, Patek, Philippe and Company, with the accent on Genève. So a very nice style in decent condition as well. Beautiful silver dial. The watch is accompanied with an archival extract from Patek Philippe that confirms the watch was indeed manufactured in 1944 and sold on December 6th, 1945. That is lot number 10 from Phillips Geneva Watch Auction 19 from the Guido Mondani collection. A square tank obus styled Patek Philippe watch. Here's a good look at that front-loading, water-resistant case structure. An illustration from the patent. And a better look at that Frecero signature right above the subdial for the seconds. The pre-auction estimate for this piece is between 11,100 to 22,100 in US dollars. The stainless steel case is 27 millimeters by 34.5. I think there's also another interesting value here, perhaps, again, for the kind of complication offered. It is an Eberhard split-second chronograph that you're looking at. This is going to be lot 124 of their auction. Looks incredibly well preserved, especially when you think of the condition of this dial, as well as those blued hands. Looks impossibly unspoiled, actually. The piece is more than 70 years old. Actually, it's placed, the year of manufacture is placed around 1938, which would actually make it 86 years old. Very oversized for the time as well, 40 millimeters in diameter, in 18 karat yellow gold. The setup is a little more different than what we usually see in modern split-second chronographs, because it is actually a monopusher chronograph. So the start-stop resets is this pusher integrated onto that beautifully knurled conical crown. And the split-second pusher is actually this olive-shaped pusher at 2. So that's how you split those seconds and how you reset. Pardon me. And the lower pusher at 4 o'clock is a stop and lock mechanism, apparently. And it's more like a slide, right? So an upward push actually locks in the time. The piece actually has an officer's case back, so to speak, like a hinged case back that allows you to peek in to the movements. Which is a Valjoux 86. Beautiful split-second piece. Again, wonderfully preserved, quite oversized for its time. Very beautiful case as well, with nicely downwards curving lugs, a stepped bezel, a domed crystal, beautiful silvered opaline white dial with both a nicely graduated seconds division, but also a tachymeter on the periphery of the dial. That is lot number 124 for an Eberhard split-second chronograph in an 18 karat yellow gold case with a hinged case back that displays the movements. Oversized, 40 millimeters of diameter, extremely clean. The pre-auction estimate of this watch is situated between 22,100 to 44,300 in US dollars. Sorry, I needed to write this message. So let's dive right in, actually, into this auction, because there is so much more, including, but not limited to, that reference 2523, which is the double crown world time watch, one of the most, pardon me, iconic executions of a world time wristwatch by Patek Philippe. One of the crowns being, of course, for setting the time, and the other for operating the world time function. I'm going to drop the link again. If you want me to highlight a particular watch from this auction, please feel free to browse at your own pace and send in the lot number with a super chat, and I would be more than happy to dive right in for you. Let's take a look at this lot number 7. This is a kind of Rolex piece that people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but they seem to have been rehabilitated in their reputation these days. And I think the Datejust version with the integrated iteration of the Oyster bracelet, as well as the day dates with, again, the integrated version of the President bracelets, are actually quite aesthetically interesting. This is lot number 7, Rolex Oyster Quartz Datejust, reference 17,000, all in stainless steel with a smooth, polished bezel. On an integrated version of the Oyster Quartz bracelets in new old stock condition, as you can see from the crispness of the finish in all facets of the case and the bracelets. Beautiful matte black dial. A quartz-powered Rolex watch that ticks and doesn't sweep, so to speak. And here's a shot of it from the case back. Literally unworn, with its original guarantee dated May 21st, 2003, stamped by Bukhara, including the product literature, calendar, presentation box, and outer packaging. The piece should have been manufactured from around 2001, and was sold in 2003. A Rolex Oyster Quartz Datejust, all in stainless steel, on its integrated Oyster bracelets, quartz powered with a black dial. This is from the Guido Mondani collection as well. The pre-auction estimate is set between 3,300 to 6,600 in US dollars. Lot number 8 is the white gold Rolex GMT Master 2 with the Bleu Noir Pepsi bezel, blue and red bezel. The reference number is 126719, and it has a meteorite dial, which gives it a unique look. Of course, every single one is singular. None of it is like an other, which gives a unique taste to this watch. The neutral treatments, let's say, or the natural treatment, whatever you want to say, the finish that Rolex gives to their meteorite dials is apparently the most stable. And, you know, Rolex is usually prioritizing utility and reliability, stability over aesthetics, especially more and more in their contemporary era. But sometimes they can look quite washed out. This is not the case with this particular example. I think it looks really nice and multifaceted, almost like, I don't know, like a skate ring that has seen some action. It's I think a beautiful look for the GMT Master. Actually, I like it on the Daytonas even better. And it's a shame that it has been discontinued and that it hasn't yet made a comeback. But this is still a great treatment and great use of it. And of course, it does remind you of those very rare, somewhat apocryphal albino GMT masters of the yesteryear as well. This is lot number 8, a much more modern piece from the Guido Mondani collection. 2019 comes as a full set. Also with a copy of Rolex GMT Master Story, the Mondani book, where the watch is actually illustrated in the volume 2. Lot number 18 is likewise from the Guido Mondani collection. This is a piece that has always been rumored to have been designed for the girlfriend of the Rolex CEO at the time, Patrick Heinecke. That's never been actually confirmed, but it was introduced at the Basel Fair in 2004 The reference number is 116593 Sacco, but most people would probably know it as the Leopard or Leopard Daytona because of the pussy print that decorates the dial and the bracelets of the watch. And by that, of course, I mean the big cats, not the genitalia, don't take me wrong. The piece is very ornate, even by the standards of a gem set Daytona. Beyond the leopard print Rolex leather straps, of which you're actually getting an additional one, you have 36 baguette cut yellow sapphires on the bezel. And as always, the choice and setting of the gems are only matched by the standards that Rolex sets for itself. They look beautifully matched. The hoods between the lugs, kind of that set ending part, is also decorated, also set with brilliant diamonds. And of course, the hour markers, except for the quarters, are also brilliant cut diamonds. With the coronet at 12 o'clock and Arabic numerals for the minutes or seconds at 15, 30, and 45. Again, a piece that seems practically unworn in a very crisp condition. This is lot number 18 for a Leopard Daytona, Rolex Cosmograph Daytona reference 116598 Sacco, yellow gold piece with baguette cut yellow sapphires on the bezel and brilliant diamonds as our markers, as well as some additional decoration on the hooded lugs. Of course, the leopard print detail decorating the dial, as well as the leather strap. This piece is from around year 2007. Comes with the full set of its accessories. It is also accompanied by the Rolex Self-Winding Daytona book, the Guido Mondani book, where the watch has been previously presented. The pre-auction estimates for this model is set between 66,400 to 133,000 in US dollars. There's a beautiful 20th anniversary set of two Lange ones. This was a two-piece set released in 2014. You guys probably know, at least thanks to Lange's own releases in Watches and Wonders, that it is the 25th anniversary of the Datokaf, their beast of a chronograph, which also means that it is the 30th anniversary of the brand, as well as their icon, Lange 1. I think they are gonna have a release for that anniversary later in the year. I think they have saved something up for that. The 20th anniversary of the brand, they have celebrated with a number of different things, but this was a set of two Langawans, a Langawan 101063 and a little Langawan 811063. So we'll check out those two pieces, which are broken up in this auction. The box is offered at lot number 27 with no reserve. At lot 26, we have the little Langawan. This, by the way, is of course still an option in the catalog. And by the way, the little Lange was not really conceived as a woman's watch per se, although it is, I think, by now marketed towards women, even if Lange doesn't like making that distinction within their lineup. It was actually first introduced, the 36 millimeter version of the Lange 1 was first introduced for the Japanese market. This one, you might say, is slightly more feminine, with the bezel set with brilliant diamonds. But what really distinguishes this 20th anniversary edition, which was made in a limited run of 20 pieces, is the diamond set bezel. I think these were introduced in 97 or 98. These models are usually called soirée, with their guilloche dials. Apparently, this particular version is number 19 out of 20. This is a piece that basically offers all the visual appeal and technical charm of the Lange 1 in a more compact form. Here in a platinum case, and again, a black guilloche dial and a diamond set bezel. Here's a look through the case back. You can see how that 3/4 plate of German silver, a particular alloy of nickel, copper, and zinc, has taken on that champagne-like tint, which is a kind of patina that actually develops over time. That yellowish hue is present, of course, from the very beginning in German silver, but it does actually develop over the years, which gives your watch a personal kind of look. I really love that aspect of Lange pieces. Of course, this piece does come with the open papers, apparently, an undated set of warranty papers from Alang und Söhne, as well as the product literature and the setting pin, as you can see in that picture. The box set of the box was lot 27. of the two-piece sets. This is lot 26 for the 20th anniversary Little Lange 1 Soirée, 36 millimeters of a platinum case, matched with a black guilloche dial and bezel set with brilliant diamonds. Lot number 25 is the regular sized Lange, which is 38.5, part of the same sets. Of course, also a platinum case, also a model that combines the platinum case with a black guilloche dial. This piece comes with also the undated warranty papers, as well as a service booklet that certifies it as a 20th anniversary Lange 1, a leather wallet to hold the documents as well. Those dials are beautiful, by the way. I mean, what a beautiful way to present that sort of sector-like wave motif in the guilloche, in this black dial, you know, both very subdued and dramatic at the same time. Number 19 again. And as you can see, you know, this is the 3/4 plate of the Lange 1, as opposed to the little Lange 1 that we were looking at a minute ago. Captain, that is next. Lot 46, the Cartier at lot 46. A member of this channel, a wonderful supporter. And thank you for your contribution, $1.99. As you can see, they have both developed a distinct patina on that 3/4 plate. What a beautiful watch. This is lot number 25, a 20th anniversary special Lange 1 with the black guilloche dial. Initially as part of a two-piece set with its more diminutive, one might say feminine, companion piece in the little Lange 1, which has a diamond bezel. That was lot number 26. The box set for the two pieces is lot 27. This is lot 25. For the reference, 101062 from 2014, since that would be the 20th anniversary of the brand, with a pre-auction estimate set between 28,300 to 56,600. All right, let's take a look at the Cartier at lot 46. What a great piece. One of the classics, of course. The Tank Cintré has long been the favorites of dandies the world over. It's the choice of L'Avvocato, Gianni Agnelli. It is Ralph Lauren's choice as well. And it was the wristwatch featured in the original Thomas Crown Affair for Steve McQueen's eponymous character. This seems to be a very nicely preserved example. From 1950s. I'm trying to make sure what they say about the dial. And if you go by their account in the lot essay, it's also unrestored. And from the photos, you can believe that, because it's not, it doesn't have any dramatic blemishes, but it does show some of the fading that would go with its age. Cintré literally is named after its curved case. Look at those numbers and hallmarks at the back as well. Looks impeccably preserved. Silver dial, kind of that parchment color. Railroad track for the minutes. Elongated and stylized Roman numerals that are almost unmistakably associated with Cartier pieces. The heat-blued Breguet-styled hands fit beautifully with the sapphire cabochon that tops off the beaded crown, and that lovely, well-preserved yellow gold case is 46.5 millimeters in length and 23 millimeters in width. Apparently, this is a nice Easter egg. It does come with a yellow gold déployant clasp that is hallmarked for France and has the initials EJ, which stand for Edmond Gégé, as in Gégé Lecoutre. And it is powered, as you can see, by a movement inscribed European Watch and Clock Company, which is a rose by another name, and that rose is named Gégé Lecoutre. Beautiful 50s example of one of Cartier's most exciting and stylized pieces. Here it is lot number 46 of the Geneva Watch Auction number 19, Geneva Watch Auction 19 by Phillips. The pre-auction estimate is set between 33,900 to 67,900 in US dollars. Thank you so much, Captain. Thank you for highlighting this beautiful watch, and thank you for your contribution. Now, going back a little bit, we had looked at those two pieces from a limited run of 20 pieces. From Lange's 20th anniversary, a decade ago. Here's another Lange one with a deep blue dial, a very interesting blue dial. Let's see what the lot essay says about lot 29, which is actually from 1996. And it is presented as scholarship changing because it combines a stainless steel case, which is very, very, very rare for A. Lange & Söhne, beyond their Odysseus, their sporty watch that they have introduced relatively recently. Of course, other than the material of the case and the dial, this piece bears all the quintessential birthmarks of the model. The oversized expression of the dates at around 2 o'clock in relation to the off-center dial. An oversized subdial for seconds, that's around 4 o'clock, around 3 o'clock. An indicator for the power reserve pivots. Beautiful alpha hands, rhodium plated. The Lange one was, of course, one of the original 4 pieces that were presented at the revival of the brand A. Lange & Söhne in 1994 in the wake of the German reunification. Lange almost exclusively produced watches in precious metals until the introduction of the Odysseus in 2019. So anything produced in stainless steel before 2019 is extremely rare, or anything in stainless steel after that that is not Odysseus would still be just as precious. Such a model was never a catalog piece for Lange. There was never a Lange 1 serially produced in stainless steel. And so far, they have not revealed how many examples they have exactly produced, but it is understood to be approximately 30 based on examples that have appeared on public auctions so far. Most of those pieces had either silver or black dials. This particular one has a blue dial. Apparently, it comes from the original owner who bought it in 1999 from the German retailer Oeding Erdel. The warranty papers apparently mention the reference as 101027X, which is a secret reference, apparently. I don't know what that means, because the watch itself should be 101026, because it is accompanied by A. Lange & Söhne's certificate of origin, which certifies that the watch was in fact born with a stainless steel Lange 1 case and a blue dial. But apparently, Lange actually fessed up, if you read the story of the lot essay, and confirmed via email on February 29th, 2024. That wouldn't have happened in any other year, I guess, February 29th, 2024. That the watch was originally delivered with a silver dial, which was later replaced by them with a blue dial. But I guess the customer who got a stainless steel Lange 1 could ask for such favors. So even though we know by now, as explained in the lot essay, that the blue dial is a service replacement by Lange, that still makes it a very rare example of a stainless steel Lange 1, and a very beautiful watch indeed, one of possibly less than 30 pieces. Here at lot number 29, from around 1999. Langa one in stainless steel with a blue dial. The estimated value of the watch is between 170,000 to 339,000 in US dollars. I love these Breguet chronographs. Oh my God. Ah. All right, there's a lot I like about the 3237. To begin with, it's one of those absolutely classic pieces, along with 3037, very desirable and canonical references for the Breguet chronograph. Of course, 3037 was the original. This is the later version with the exhibition case back, which of course gives you a very nice view of the Breguet caliber 533, which is actually the Lemania CH27 or 2010, elsewhere known as Omega 321 for the Moonwatch, widely used in so many hand-wound prestige chronographs by Vachon Constantin, Roger Dubuis, Daniel Roth himself, by Patek Philippe for the 5070, for Patek Philippe for the 3970 and 5970 as the base for their perpetual calendar chronographs, for AP for their tourbillon chronograph, so many other examples, but let me just stop there. What makes this particular example even more unique is that Onyx, our track, that it combines with the classic Breguet dial, which is produced from a gold blank, decorated by hand-guided rose engine, silvered, and you can see that detail at the center with a Claude Paris decoration. There's a wave-like decoration for the two chronograph subdials, which have these radially brushed outer rings, silvered. And you can see how each sector of the dial actually is framed by a coin-edged detail, which is just such a fantastic little nuance that you only pay close attention to when you have this sort of macro picture, but it really adds to the depth of that dial when you are looking at it from a certain distance or when you're looking down on your wrist. Those kinds of little details make such a big difference. Of course, the 3237 otherwise carries all the beautiful details that Breguet wristwatch has. This is a very compact chronograph, you might say, 36 millimeters in diameter. It's not all that thick either. I think it's under 11 millimeters thick, which is not bad at all. Beautiful Breguet hands, of course, for the hour and minutes. All the hands are fashioned out of stainless steel and heat blued. 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock. Continuous running seconds at 9. Both subdials beautifully aligned with the crown and perfectly centered on the dial. The signature of the brand on a plaque at 12 o'clock and the movement number on another plaque counterbalancing that at 6 o'clock. Classic coin edging, fluting all around the case band as well, which is a very fine detail. Extended lugs with the teardrop shape. The entire thing is perfection. This is lot number 33 for a Breguet chronograph built on the base of Lemania CH27. This is reference 3237 with a 36 millimeter white gold case and a unique combination of an onyx, hour track, and hand guilloché silvered gold dial. The piece comes with the user manual, a fitted presentation box, and its outer packaging, as well as an open set of Breguet warranty papers. The pre-auction estimate for this watch at lot number 33 is between 22,600 to 45,200 in US dollars. A fantastic example of a diminutive chronograph by Patek Philippe. People have been announcing the comeback of smaller watches, smaller dress watches. And if that is real, that might actually do something with the prices of these kinds of chronographs, which are otherwise a very a relatively undervalued, I have to say, sector of the Patek markets. Here is an example of the reference 130, incidentally also in a pink gold case on my wrist. And it's really one of the most elegant, gentlemanly chronographs I've ever seen. One of the most astonishing dress watches, I think. 33 millimeters, but it does have a larger than life presence because it has this kind of flat case back and subtly drooping lugs. This particular example that I'm highlighting now, which is lot 35 for Geneva Auction 19 by Phillips, actually is a pink on pink, so to speak. So it combines a 33 millimeter pink gold case with a pink dial, Roman numerals, and stick markers for the hours. Again, you can see the two chronograph registers are perfectly aligned and beautifully proportioned in accordance with the crown. and 1:30 is a fantastic watch if you are actually interested in that genre of diminutive, smaller dress watches. Again, a tachymeter scale on the periphery of the dial, a seconds division in a concentric circle with minutes right in between, the two Roman numerals at 12 and 6 o'clock, stick markers for the rest, blued hands for the chronograph indications, of which the centrally deployed chronograph seconds is slightly curved in accordance with the domed crystal of the watch. The watch comes with an archival extract from Patek Philippe, which confirms that this watch left the manufacturer with a rosé dial, so pink on pink originally. The chronograph movement is actually built on a Valjoux 13 base. Here's a beautiful detail of that chronograph bridge with its distinct ribbings in the Geneva style. The swan neck regulator is also in the frame. This is lot number 35 for a pink on pink Patek Philippe hand-wound chronograph 130 from 1941. The estimated value of this watch is somewhere between 33,900 to 67,900. Please hit the like button if you haven't done so already. I have about 20-25 minutes to go. So if you want to squeeze in another super chat, if you want me to answer a particular watch-related question, anything that comes to your mind, it can be something related to Watches and Wonders. It can be about one of the lots presented on this auction that I didn't have a chance to cover yet, or that I simply skipped over so far. Anything really. And again, you know, I repeat this at least once in every broadcast, so I'm not going to be ashamed when doing this on this particular occasion either. This is a completely independent channel, which means that it works for you. It only cares about knowledge and passion for wristwatches. It works to provide the best value for you at retail and on the secondary markets, and it serves no other masters, which also means that I am at your behest. The channel survives and thrives with your contributions. YouTube gives you a lot of options, and of course, there are links for other possibilities as well in the description of the video. So please consider contributing. I'm also going full-time next month, so I do need your support. In either case, Your presence already means a lot. Drop a like, share the link, spread the word about the channel so we can expand this community that comes together around knowledge of and passion for wristwatches. Follow me on Instagram. That also helps. You know, both platforms feed off on each other, and you know, they have a lot of overlap, but also some original contents as well that you won't always see on YouTube. And of course, YouTube memberships give you access to exclusive content as well, which is an ever expanding archive. Right now, we are looking at Phillips Geneva Auction 19. Lot number 38 is an example of another pink gold Patek Philippe watch. Of course, something much more modern, if not necessarily contemporary. This is a 5970R, a perpetual calendar chronograph from Patek Philippe from 2006. It is the last reference of their perpetual calendar chronograph that they have produced using the Geneva seal movement that was built on the base of the Nouvelle Lemania CH27. You can see that hallmark actually beautifully etched onto that balance bridge. That distinct Y-shaped Patek Philippe chronograph bridge, and that cap on the column wheel with a black polished screw sitting in a mirror polished countersink. A very nicely decorated version of the CH27, of course. That you don't see every day and everywhere. The 5970 is also extremely desirable for all that and more. First of all, it has a very modern 40 millimeter case here in pink gold with those spider-like lugs. Nicely stepped. In a way, they harken back to the 2499 that we were looking at in the reel I posted on Instagram. Baton markers, pardon me, leaf-shaped hands, a tachymeter scale on the periphery of the dial, subtly sunken subdials for the chronograph, which also accommodates day, night, and leap year indicators. 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock, which encircles the leap year indicator, and the continuous running second subdial at 9 o'clock, which also features at its center a 24-hour hand, which serves as your day-night indicator. A pointer date is at 6 o'clock that surrounds a crescent-shaped cutout for the moon phase indicator. And of course, there are two apertures at 12 o'clock above the signature of the brands that gives you the day of the week and the month, which is an English calendar in this particular case. Here is the appearance of a full set with the watch presented on its certificate of origin, stamped by Mersmann of Switzerland. This watch was someone's Christmas gift because it is dated on the 24th of December in 2006. That full set includes all the product literature, the leather folio for the documents, the setting pin, of course, the presentation box, and the outer packaging. And as you can see, the additional solid case back, of course, in 18 carats pink gold. If you don't necessarily care about the exhibition case back, if you just want to enjoy the heft of your precious metal watch, you can always use this additional case back and get that weight on your wrist. I think these pieces look incredible in pink gold, honestly. And you can see that there's a matching déployant clasp as well that bears the Calatrava cross. Beautiful piece, perhaps not as rare as a 1518 or 2499, perhaps a little bit more on the contemporary side and not neo vintage like the 3970, which is one of my favorite references ever. But 5970 is a true blood modern perpetual calendar piece by Patek Philippe that still carries the Geneva seal, and that is the last of a kind in a way because it was discontinued in 2009, and it is the last generation of their perpetual calendar chronographs that they built on the Nouvelle Lemania base. This is lot number 38 for a Patek Philippe perpetual calendar chronograph, reference 5970R, from around 2006, with the full set of its accessories. The pre-auction estimates is set between 102,000 to 204,000 in US dollars. All right, the last stretch. So let me know if you have any questions, if you have any requests, or if you simply want to contribute to the channel. Lot 42 is actually one of my favorite watches of all time, but certainly my favorite Vacheron Constantin of all time. This particular example is a little too ornate for my liking with this decoration of the case. But the reference 6694, which has been affectionately called Batman by collectors because its appearance is much more like a contraption that belongs to Batman's utility belt than a 60s watch. But this is actually a 60s model by Vacheron Constantin with wonderfully stylized lugs executed in a way that only Vacheron knows how. In this particular example, the white gold piece is presented on a matching bracelet. A brick style bracelet, which has this hatched grain pattern or cross-hatched pattern, Florentine style, that is done on the case and on the bracelets, which gives it a beautiful integral look. Otherwise, the model is pretty similar. with a nicely and evenly patinated silver dial that has taken on this yellowish champagne-like hue. On the Royal Chronometer versions of this watch, you will see that the Maltese cross at 12 o'clock is actually set with a single brilliant diamond, which is a beautiful detail. You have a date window at 3 o'clock, kind of doorstop style markers at the rest of the quarters, applied stick markers, and a Dauphine set of hands for the hour and minutes, and a sweep center seconds. Beautiful piece. It does come with an archival extract. This is a white gold example. You can find them in yellow gold as well. I really like the Royal Chronometer versions in white gold. Hopefully I will acquire one soon enough. This is lot number 42 for a Vacheron Constantin Batman reference 6694 from 1967. The 35 millimeter case with its distinct styling has a larger presence than that number might indicate on the wrist. I highly recommend looking for these watches. I think they're still relatively undervalued, and they look very beautiful in white gold. I'm surprised, actually, this is not something they bring out in stainless steel for the Historique line. You know, a 37 millimeter version, perhaps in stainless steel, would be an absolute killer for the modern lineup. Maybe time only rather than time dates. Am I giving too much away? Shouldn't do this for free. This is lot 42 with a pre-auction estimate set between 9,000 to 13,600 in US dollars. I actually like this Tank Centré at lot 50 as well. This is by Cartier London rather than Cartier Paris that we were looking at. Even though it is from around 1970, apparently, I think it is actually very swinging 60s to me. The font and the styling of the Roman numerals. Apparently, it's an ink blue dial, by the way. It kind of looks black to me from the pictures, but that's what the lot essay notes it. And I think from this angle, you can see it a little better. And without the crystal as well here. Once again, a beautifully preserved case with the English hallmarks. Yellow gold, 42.5 by 21.5. With a matching classic Cartier déployant clasp. Oops, what happened there? It's a hand-wound JLC K840 movements. And apparently, this particular example at lot 50 was previously in the collection of Band Climber. Interesting piece at lot 50, a tank centré from around 1970 by Cartier London in yellow gold with a dark blue dial and an estimated value that is set in the range between $79,200 to $158,000. Oh my God, thank you. Thank you so much. Dexterious. Love you, man. I'll sing the Canadian anthem if this kind of contribution comes. Let's take a look. 15,900. Is that a good price for a reference? 1680 from 1979. Box and papers. The case is good. The bracelet is rough. Replacement bracelet is included. What is the replacement bracelet? Does it match? That is it period correct? Is it the 93150? I will give you a few different pieces of advice when it comes to this. I love the original Rolex bracelets. I don't care if they are rough or not. But of course, they feel better when they're professionally restored. And overall, I think if you like vintage pieces, you will enjoy when everything fits together, when everything comes together as, oh my God, thank you, as that one wholesome picture. So I think that's a great trade-off, right? To have the most modern bracelet that watch takes, and 93150 is actually a boon for the vintage sub lover because it's something you can fit to 5512, 5513, 1680, so on and so forth. So that's great for everyday wear. I love wearing the Submariner on a leather strap or a NATO as well. That's not everyone's cup of tea. I know it was so extremely popular, the NATO straps, especially at a certain point in time, that they became old and unfashionable. I get that. Listen, I mean, most bracelets from 1870s and even 80s are going to be all loose and basically out of shape, jingly jangly, as someone calls, especially the Jubilee versions, because they have more moving pieces. They can get even worse. So when it comes to figuring it in the price, if it's a full bracelet, it has all the links and everything else, the restoration can be done quite competently by all kinds of people. My favorite, because I can also vouch for it, because I have used their services, is Michael Young of Hong Kong. I really like the work that they have done on my riveted oyster bracelet for my late 60s 5513. So I would say that's a great set. Box and papers, it's the cherry on top. I don't always care for it. I don't, it's not a must, but when it's there, that's a good set. You have the box and papers, you have the bracelet for everyday wear, you have the original bracelets for those special occasions, or whenever you want to feel part of that time capsule, right? Where everything fits together and where everything is period correct. Now, all of that being said, when you say the condition is good, I don't know what that means, right? Are we talking about, uh, Krusty the Clown? It's not only good, it's good enough. Are we talking about that kind of good? Is the case polished to bits? Is it unpolished? Is it somewhere in between? All that is very valuable information, so to speak. Um, I would say, honestly, good morning, Memovox. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, look, to me, that makes my heart sing. When it comes to those kinds of pieces, I think the unpolished condition is much better than something that looks unrealistically, um, what can I say? Unrealistically preserved. We found it under the couch. Oh, it was in a safe, so on and so forth. That's a lot better for me. I think, you know, what can I say? I think that's a decent price. I think that's a decent price. I would try to see, look, I have lost out on some deals like that because I was looking for a steal, right? Because I was trying to shave off $500 here, $1,000 there. I lost some good deals that I could have made when I had the chance. If the watch speaks to you, if you like the condition, the dial looks good to you, it doesn't have any damage, but the kind of warm patina that speaks to you. If you're not so wedded to the idea of red writing, because you won't find that in late 70s examples anymore, um, everything else sounds good. you know the two bracelets, the fact that you're getting box and papers, that's cherry on top. um, I would still try to negotiate. I would try to see if I can maybe knock off maybe another 2,000. Try to settle for 14. But I think that sounds like a good deal to me, honestly. um, if it's someone that you can make an even better deal with, I would try it. But if everything else seems right to you, and if you can get the watch for 14, I would say go for it. I mean, if it were any other brands, I would hesitate in this market, especially because why the rush, right? Everything is in free fall still, and you can probably get a better deal if you just sit on your hands for another few months, until the end of the year or even until next year. Um, it's not it's not the best price. It's not the deal of the century. It's certainly not a steal. But for a watch in genuinely good condition, unpolished case, the modern bracelet included, papers, go for it. For sure, if you can get it for around 14. But if you really want to add that into your collection, by all means. But again, a few things that would preclude you from that purchase. You actually want a red writing 1680. It won't scratch the itch. Believe me, you need what you need, especially when it comes to vintage Rolex. Get the exact thing that you want in the best condition that your money can afford. If you are sure about the watch, don't, this is something that used to be the best commonplace wisdom on the secondary market of watches. But since the market has gone crazy, we stopped repeating it because people were already getting ahead of themselves and getting carried away. But we used to say before the pandemic, don't be afraid to pay tomorrow's prices for the best example you can find. So if that watch the best example you can find, you should be happy to walk away from that deal at $14,000-$15,000. It's not the cheapest on the market, but it's a Rolex piece of a long-standing reference that will always have a buyer, right? You will never lose your shirt on a deal like that. So that is my deal, Captain. All right, let's close it with this. Am I gonna be too predictable again? I'm gonna honor my favorite German person in existence in the whole world of all time. Carl Friedrich Schäufele. Anything and everything by Chopin. Is that a good enough answer? First of all, I love the fact that they are going XP with the Alpine Eagle. As you guys know, they have brought everything they had with the LUC expertise to the Alpine Eagle line last year with that Salmon dial piece, micro rotor movements that built on the legacy of their Caliber 96, which is presented here in an open worked version. XP standing for extra plat, ultra thin, and TT for technical titanium. So this piece is also fully executed in titanium with grain brushed and mirror polished surfaces. I really like the look. If you're a fan of the Alpine Eagle, you won't find many watches in this category with this kind of treatments in titanium at this price point, for sure. This is 26,500. It might well be my favorite release, but since I can't settle for one, I actually will also vote for this one. You guys know that I did a lot of videos on the Qualité Fleurier, which is the kind of standards that Carl Friedrich Schäufele shepherded and collaborated with Michel Parmigiani to rival the hallmark of Geneva. And it was something that seemed to have fallen by the wayside. And it's really about the kind of Herculean tasks that Schäufele likes to set himself, because the standards are so stringent, the tests so rigorous, that even they can't abide by this for the most part. And I think all the other manufacturers, including Parmigiani and Beauvais, have fallen off and have not produced more than one or two series that abide by Qualité Fleurier. I will see if I can provide a link to my video that I did on Qualité Fleurier watches, but they just released a new version of it. Of course, it is an LUC chronometer with a two-tone silver dial, small seconds, a mix of alpha/syringe hands. I think this is the first time they're doing their Qualité Fleurier in a stainless steel watch in 39 millimeters. But again, this is a 39 millimeter that wears bigger with these shouldered lugs, which is a very dramatic design. And again, you can see that Qualité Fleurier finished version of the caliber 96, here 9.96, with a 22 carats white gold micro rotor that winds bidirectionally. Again, the price point for the watch is relatively reasonable. 2300s, which puts it, by the way, I think reasonably cheaper than the LUC 1860, of course, which was one of the hottest and most popular releases of last year. And don't take me wrong, I love this watch, but it is in so many ways an acquired taste. I'm not talking about the Salmon dial. I think actually that particular style of dial, especially in dressier, more classically inclined pieces, is quite attractive to many people. But the 36.5 millimeter case diameter might be prohibitive to some. And I know, Captain doesn't like, even for dressier pieces, he doesn't like smaller pieces. So if you like that sort of dress watch styling, but you're looking for something more modern and oversized slightly, I mean, 39 millimeters is not oversized. It's actually, I think, the perfect dimensions actually for a modern dress watch, whatever your wrist size is, because at the end of the day, these pieces are supposed to be a little more discreet compared to your average watch. And you will see, and you don't need Tim Mosso to tell you that, this will slide under every cuff. By the way, I'm surprised that there's no rap verse that has that sort of reference, right? I mean, if I were a rapper, I would certainly write a verse for Tim Mosso. right? Like Tim Massa, I slide under every cuff or something like that. I feel like that would be something decent. All right, I've had enough fun tonight. I think I really appreciate you guys. I love these contributions. Dexterious, thank you. Again, both Dexterious and Captain, as well as Memovox, who contributed so generously tonight with their super chats. They are also members of this channel, so they really have done a lot for the channel during the month and tonight. So I appreciate it. Captain says, I have a day date 36, but a 38, 39 would work. That's true, Captain. You have actually reminded me that you have a day date 36. But I feel like that doesn't even matter. I don't know if I'm exaggerating maybe, but putting Rolex aside, day date is such an emblematic watch. Its mainstream popularity may wax and wane, but probably it is the watch that has one of the most outsized wrist presences of all time. In combination with that president bracelet, that watch does not look 36 millimeters. You know what I mean? I mean, the modern sizing is great as well, but it is already a big watch at 36 in combination with that bracelet. I don't know. Maybe it is just my Rolex fanboyism that always gets excited whenever I see a day date. It might just be that. Captain, a member for 7 months. Wow. I think I have had memberships for 8 months in total. So one of my oldest members, Ali, of course, is my number one member, but there are others and yet others who supported me in Patreon as well. I really appreciate you, Captain. That's very generous of you to say. You are bigger than Mossa now. Certainly not bigger in terms of my subscriber numbers. So once again, I will thank you for your support and presence. Thank you for all these contributions, your questions, your interjections, your kind words and encouragement from the chat always means a lot. We talked largely about the Phillips Geneva Watch Auction 19. That includes a lot of pieces, dozens of pieces from the Guido Mondani collection as well. I'll come back to it, hopefully already tomorrow. But if I'm not live on a Sunday night, I think I will be on the Monday night, and I look forward to completing the coverage of the Phillips Geneva auction then. In the meantime, please spread the word about the channel. It's honestly the way the Instagram and YouTube grows recently. I'm on the verge of getting to that combined 5,000. That was a target that I set for YouTube for the end of last year. Of course, I was being a little too ambitious, but seeing something like that by May, which is when I go full time, a combined follower of 5,000 would mean a lot to me. So if you could get people to follow me on Instagram or subscribe to my YouTube channel, it would be great. And at the end of the day, you guys know this is a community that comes together around passion and knowledge. Nothing else required. Even knowledge itself is not required, as long as you are passionate about watches, willing to share your taste, open to learning more. I think I have one of the most interested and interesting group of people when it comes to the watch space. I know I'm usually on my own here, but whenever I have people on my panel, it's always very interesting, articulate, and eloquent people. So I appreciate your company, and I hope to see you on the panel more often as well. So let's get the ball rolling. Spread the word. I'll see you in the next one. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, wear and enjoy your watches. Lovely to see you. Bye.